The next question that's come through is around super. It says, if
Mm,
our super is falling behind the benchmark for where it should be for our age group, should we salary sacrifice until we make it back to that benchmark? After which point we'd stop salary sacrificing to focus on other debts like mortgage until we have spare cash we want to voluntarily put into super again. This is also assuming investments we make outside of super is not specific for retirement.
So just before we get into the strategies there, Glenn, maybe if you can
yeah.
just comment on the concept of benchmarking super for a
Mm.
particular age group. Is that something that you believe in, and where do you find them as well?
Yeah. Interesting. I went to exact same.
Mm.
Out of all of the words, it was quite a big
Mm, mm.
question. Benchmark is the one that I stuck on because I was quite interested to probably understand what are they actually benchmarking against. And you're right. Like for different age groups, it's going to mean different things to different people. But if we look at some of the numbers, and these are some really high level numbers, but for someone to retire at 65 and give them what is classed as, I suppose, a comfortable retirement, they need about 600 grand in retirement savings. For someone, for a couple, it's probably about $700,000 for a comfortable retirement. And what do I mean by a comfortable retirement? So it's a modest retirement. So it's really, an annual domestic trip, probably, yeah, an annual domestic trip to kind of see family and friends. And this particular definition is one overseas trip every 7 years. Right. So again, thinking about our member base, they're doing a lot more than one overseas trip
Mm.
every 7 years, and that's a huge goal, and it's really important to them. So, if we're looking at our supers and we're not on track to hit 600 or 700, then by age 65, it's going to be, I guess, more modest than that. And this is also assuming you own your own home, right? So this is we've bought a property, we've paid off the debt, and we're not paying rent. The other thing that stood out to me when you were talking through the question is why is there super falling behind?
Mm.
So and there's a couple of reasons for that. So potentially lower income, uh, type work, time overseas
Mm.
is a big one that I see certainly through our member base. If they're overseas for 2, 3, 4, 5 years, not contributing to super, that can have a fairly significant compounding impact. Time out of work for any reason, so being made redundant or time off to start a family is another one. The other is simply performance. Like, what is your fund? How is your fund actually performing, and what fees are they charging you? We're going to go to the effort of salary sacrificing, like putting more money into super to try and catch up. It's really important that we understand what we're putting our money in and what we're investing in and
Mm.
what fees we're going to be charged when we put that additional money in.
Mm.
Like salary sacrificing, super tax efficient. I love the fact that this individual's thinking about that, but don't just put money in a fund blindly, even if it is, whether you wouldn't do that if it was in your personal name.
Mm.
So don't do it if it's your super fund as
Mm.
well.
Mm.
So to answer the question on the benchmarking piece, you know, it's a clickbait article that I reckon News.com do every six
Like,
months, and a
here's how
bunch
much
of here's
super.
how much super
Yeah.
you should have at your age group. I
Yeah.
just googled it, and ABC's come up with one, and the way that they're presenting it is in line with what you've said around comfortable retirement. They're saying
Mm,
if you want to have a comfortable retirement and that 600,000 in your a superannuation by the age of 60 or whatever, here are the
mm,
sort of balances you need at every sort of 5 year hurdle. So it's saying
mm,
35, I'm almost approaching that age. I should have about 102,000 in my super to be on track. I guess from your point of view, Glenn, A, is it worth looking at these numbers? And B, if I have 60,000 in my super instead of 102,000, should I be freaking out and going, I'm not on track. I need to bulk this up as fast as
mm.
possible going into my 35. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, totally. And so should you be looking at these numbers? Yes. But, even, in line with the 30% on property, think about what a comfortable retirement means to you. So if the target is $600,000 to have a comfortable retirement, which is defined by an annual domestic trip and an overseas trip every 7 years, and that's your definition, and your house and home is completely paid off, and that's your definition of a comfortable retirement, then that figure is going to mean a lot more than someone wants to do Europe every second year.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, should you be freaking out? No. If you're 35, you've got so much time on your side, but don't do what most people do and wait until they're 5 to 10 years from retirement. And super is the fundamental reason why most people seek financial advice in Australia. Like the average age of an advised client is 58, because they get to 58 and then they freak out. And
good.
And you probably, I'm not saying freak out, that's definitely not the intention, but the runway to that comfortable retirement is a lot shorter than when you're sitting here at 35. So be diligent about it. Don't freak out, but think about, okay, well, how can we make some small incremental changes in our life today to give us a greater chance of achieving what we believe is comfortable. But again, I circle back to my comment, don't just salary sacrifice blindly because an article told you it can be really tax effective and save you lots of money in tax. It can be tax effective. I'm not saying it can't. It's a very tax effective strategy, but when you're putting that money in, you're still investing it. So understand that you're investing in.
Equity mind.
I will say this about investing. Everything you do learn is cumulative. What I learned at 20 is useful.